Am I
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. So I should congratulate them for selecting BAMS as their career option after their formal +2 education. But at the same time, I should admit that there is a huge transitional jerk that is happening when we shift to Ayurvedic stream from our formal background of physics, chemistry, biology. There is a huge transitional jerk. That is how we are conditioned to see the learning material, whichever the topic is, from the perspective of physics, chemistry, biology. And all of a sudden, you are brought to a different stream where your tools of conditioning, PCB, physics, chemistry, and biology, is not working. Your teachers are speaking a different language. I do not mean the language Sanskrit, but entirely different stuff like Padartha Vijnanam or Maulika Siddhanta and so on, Kriya Shariram, Rajana Shariram. And many of these things are not in tune with the topics what we have learned earlier. So that is a big constraint because there is an issue of lack of familiarity. That is a problem. That is the real issue. There is a lack of in familiar areas or landscapes. We are comfortable. When we are going to one of our close relatives' house or one of our close friends' house, we are comfortable because that environment is familiar. But when you come to a very strange place where you have nobody known earlier, people speak a different language which you are not familiar with, and you are supposed to live in that environment for the next 4 years or 5 years or whatever it is, then obviously there will be an issue of lack of familiarity, which creates some sort of a discomfort. That happens when you enter or when you start learning Ayurveda. And when you are asked say something about what is Newton's laws of motion, if I'm right, I learned all these things very years back, or what is the Pascal's rule. Okay, you're fine because you have learned all these things. Everything is familiar, but that is not the case with Ayurveda. So we should have an understanding about what these people are talking about. We have to make ourselves familiar with all these things, and that familiarity also should not be a unrealistic familiarity. It should be a realistic familiarity. You should be getting what the real crux is. Then only I think it will be a long lasting relationship. Otherwise, later in your life, you will come to know that, okay, whatever I had heard about or whatever I had learned about, they were wrong information, which will end up in a divorce, isn't it? After a beautiful wedding, all these things will end up in a divorce. So familiarity should be realistic, a well-informed familiarity. So we have to have some idea. So maybe I think I will start the dialogue. I will start the dialogue with the few of the basic concepts. Later, I think we will move forward to some sort of an interactive mode. I expect some areas to be asked from your side, whatever it is. Then I think we can proceed comfortably with a one-on-one Q&A or something like that, or the uh, maybe Vaidya Tushar or somebody can organize it in a way that the conversation moves on fruitfully. Okay. Then coming to the basic principles, you see, I would say Ayurveda has also got its own PCB, physics, chemistry, and biology. Physics is all about the physical world, I should say, isn't it? Physics is all about the physical world and the forces that play between physical objects and the rules or the laws which guide or rule these forces, how these forces are acted upon. So that is what physics is all about. This is an inevitable part of understanding the nature, no doubt about it. Ayurveda also is talking about physics. What this entire physical world is about. How can one understand this physical world? What are the forces that interplay among these forces, within these forces, and how can we understand them, and how can we use them in explaining the health, disease of human beings, and also use them in the treatment of diseases. At this point, one should understand that there can be more than one ways to explain or understand or investigate what the truth is. Humankind or mankind is actually searching for the ultimate truth from time immemorial. Actually, that search or exploration can be about the universe, the cosmos, what this universe is made out of, or how old this universe is. To that extent. And on the other end, it can be something like, who am I? Who am I means philosophically the ultimate selfie that a person can take, isn't it? I do not know whether there is a front camera available in a mobile phone which will answer this question. But anyway, that is the other end of the story. So we are exploring from our ancestors, maybe millions of years ago till date. We are exploring what is the truth behind this cosmos or universe or whatever it is. There can be multiple methods, methodology, tools, principles that are drawn for this purpose. In Ayurveda, when you learn about Ayurveda, it has taken its physiology, sorry, its physics from certain schools of thought that is present, that was present, or that were present in this subcontinent, India, from maybe thousands of years. We call them darshanas. We call them by the name darshanas. The word darshana means sight. And darshanas are tools which will facilitate seeing the truth. So darshana is about seeing. So in this context of physics, that means the forces which prevail in this physical world and their interconnectedness and the place that they play between them, there is a school of darshana, or there are more than one schools of darshanas, which Ayurveda has taken, adopted as its physics. So Ayurveda has got its own physics, and Ayurveda is talking about physics. And that darshana is called, okay, maybe the most prevalent one in this regard could be Vaisheshika. That is the name of that particular darshana, which is called Vaisheshika darshana. And this Vaisheshika darshana, there are similar darshanas, or there are other darshanas which share some common ideas between them in this regard. Say, for example, another darshana called Sankhya darshana. You can find some areas where they come together, they merge and come to some sort of a consensus. Basically, there are different darshanas because their areas of inquiry were different. According to Vaisheshika darshana, the physics in Indian school of thought, this cosmos of the universe, this prapancham, this lokam, is made out of 5 fundamental units. 5 fundamental units. And they are known as Bhuta. Maybe if I spell it in English, B-H-U-T-A or B-H-U-T-H-A, Bhuta. Bhuta is a Sanskrit word which literally means something which has manifested. Bhuta. Something which has manifested. And something is there. Not information, it is there. So it proposes that this physical world is made out of 5 fundamental units called Bhuta. 5 in Sanskrit, Pancha. Then 5 Bhutas, that becomes Pancha Bhuta. So it is a proposal that this world, universe, this material world around us is made out of 5 fundamental units called Panchabhuta. And they have got their specific names. We will come to it later. I'm just introducing that the physics in Ayurveda. And they interact. There are certain laws which control or guide the way in which these things are going to be interacted. And their interaction in different permutations and combinations, their arrangement in different spatial facilities, that can cause the manifestation, formation of different types of gross and subtle objects, including the body of human beings. All physical objects, including the body of we, the human beings. So when you are looking into the physics in Ayurveda, the modern physics, what you might have learned in your +2 lessons, may not be sufficient. There may be many areas where the modern physics which you have learned in your +2 classes and the physics which you are supposed to learn through the spectrum or through the spectacles of Vaisheshika Darshana may be matching. But that is not mandatory. They are speaking from two different angles. They are speaking two different languages. They are talking about two different ways of looking at the same question. So when you are seeing one particular tower, a huge tower, from two different angles, both these two persons who are observing the same tower may be observing the same tower, no doubt, but their angles of perception, the place from which they are looking at the tower, that's different. So obviously, somebody may be seeing one side of the tower from south, the other person may be seeing the other side of the tower from the north. There is no conflict. These are two different perspectives. But what is important is, it is all about if you are learning Ayurveda, you should have some familiarity to at least to start with in the physics which is used in Ayurveda. That's all. If you are trying to explain Ayurveda or understand Ayurveda using a physics which is really not meant for that purpose, isn't it? That is very common. We have certain measures, say for example, milliliters. Milliliter is used to measure volume. Centimeter. Centimeter is used to measure length. You cannot measure volume with a centimeter, or you cannot measure volume with the length with the milliliters. And it is not right to say that the concept of milliliter is wrong, because we cannot use the concept of milliliter to measure length. They are two different perspectives meant for two different purposes and which are relevant in their context. That is important. So the context, purpose, who is using the tool, and the context in which the entire machinery is operating, all these things are important while we use these things in our learning. That is very important. So there is physics in Ayurveda. There is lucid explanations about how the different forces in the universe, in the material world, interact. There are certain rules which guides the interaction between these principles. And it is using those physics rules or rules of physics that the Ayurveda is explaining certain things. Now coming to chemistry. It is all about the charges or the chemical configuration or the chemical nature, its capacity to merge with another material. That is what we learn in our modern chemistry, which we learned in our +2 classes, up to our +2 classes. Ayurveda also has got its own chemistry, because these are essential. It is not a claim that, okay, Ayurveda should also have a chemistry, because these things, that means forget about the name. Without understanding these basic tendencies of the material in making combinations and forming new things, and the way in which they can be disintegrated, the way in which new things can be synthesized, these informations are essential for understanding the nature. In modern perspective, we call it chemistry, that's all. In Ayurveda also, we have to understand how these things are getting interconnected, what is the outcome of it, how they can be broken into pieces, what is the result. All these things are discussed. As the word chemistry is familiar to you, I use the word, okay, we also have got a chemistry, that's all. It is more about the explanation. So based on this material background of the universe, you can find Ayurveda also uses or utilizes the concept of their combination, the concept of their disintegration, concept of combining, forming new things, and predicting the potential of the new things, and the way in which they can be disintegrated, the way in which the combination can be made temporary, and the combination which can be made permanent. All these things are again taken from these darshanas. Darshanas are supposed to be the basic pool of information with which Ayurveda has developed its darshana. Making use of all these things, Ayurveda has developed its darshana, which we call as Ayurveda darshana, like Vaisheshika darshanam, Sankhya darshanam, maybe Yoga darshanam, or maybe Vedantam. All these things, Ayurveda has conceptualized and developed its own darshana, which has got a specific area of operation, and we call it as Ayurveda darshana. Again, coming to the third one, which you are familiar with, that is the biology. We are familiar with the term biology. It has got two, okay, bios and logos. It is the study of life. Fine. If you split Ayurveda into two, again you will find Ayu and Veda, where Ayu stands for life and Veda stands for knowledge. So maybe a word-to-word literary translation of Ayurveda, if somebody is asking you to make, how do you explain Ayurveda? It is Ayu and Veda, the knowledge of life. It is not a mere comparison or a claim. Ayurveda also has got its own. Biology is discussing about how the life sustains. What are the principles that guide this sustenance of life? How life could have manifested in beings? How do they survive? How do they grow? Why living substances perish? What is happening after that? All these things are, again, as I told, from the first human being till date. It is an enigma. We are looking into it. We are trying to answer the question. We are trying to make the answers better. That is what biology is all about. Of course, in the later periods, they have added many technological inputs into it, and trying to manipulate it to different levels. Take it for granted. That is not our point of discussion at this juncture. Ayurveda also has got its own way of explaining all these things. How does life sustain? A material object which is made out of 5 basic units, how does it become a living object? What is the principle which is added to it when we say that it has life? These are all points which we discuss in Ayurveda. We say that, okay, to these 5 principles, a 6th principle called life, Atma, spirit, soul, or whatever you translate it, is added. Life manifests. And as long as the presence of this principle of life is there with these composition of 5 basic units, that unit will be alive. So Ayurveda also has got its own biology. So you are not in a strange terrain at this point of time. Don't get afraid. Don't think that you are in an unfamiliar world. You are in a familiar world. We are talking about the same topic. We are talking about or discussing about the same physics, chemistry, and biology, but seen from a different perspective. So you need not be uncomfortable, but you have to get accustomed with the space where you are sitting and looking, the angle of observation. That is the only thing which you have to get familiarized with. So Ayurveda proposes that, see, this entire living body, where these 5 basic units plus life is added, that has got the potential to, say, once it is born, it has got the potential to grow, to nourish, to sustain for certain period of time. Then, of course, this capacity is getting compromised. Then slowly it decays, the graph comes down. Then at one point of time, like a projectile which you have projected to the atmosphere, it reaches the peak, then slowly declines, and at one point it touches the land. Similarly, a living object also at one point of time perishes, dies. And in between these 2 points, from birth to death, from the beginning to the end, how does this body operate? That is explained. Again, that is what we learn about. Okay, there are innumerable, maybe something like 30 trillion. That is what is an approximate count that an adult male is having in his body. 30 million, trillion, not a million, 30 trillion cells. And 1 trillion is 1 lakh crores. So 30 trillion, fine, that is one way of seeing it. And they operate, they grow, they do that thing, they do thing, they differentiate, they form different systems, different tissues, all these things, different organs, they receive food, they digest it. In the same way, Ayurveda also explains its Kriya Shariram or physiology. That is based on another principle called Tridosha Siddhanta. Tridosha Siddhanta. Tridosha Siddhanta postulates very simple things. That is an excellent example to a methodology. What is that methodology about? How we can explain complex systems. How we can explain complex systems by organizing the components of the system into basic similar units. If you can organize the components of a complex system into similar basic units, you can explain complex systems in a simpler manner. And what is the advantage? The advantage is that you can find very sophisticated, very complex, larger than our level of perception systems by projecting this 3, 4, or whatever number it is, smaller units to a higher screen. That's all. For example, while trying to explain the universe as a whole, you try to take your body as a miniature of the universe. and explain it. That is very important. You can find all the complexities of the universe, all the physical entities of the universe. Let it be an ocean, let it be a hillock, let it be a huge mountain, let it be a stream, let it be volcano, let it be desert, let it be forest. Whatever complex things you are supposed to see in the outer world, in this physical world, can be seen or can be reflected in your own body in miniature form. So using the biological principles that is adopted in Ayurveda, that is the Tridosha Siddhanta, while you are explaining one single living human body, by projecting that perceptions, that concepts to a larger frame, you can understand what this universe is in its biological outset. That is the interesting part of it. This is so unique. I think maybe the modern biology or modern philosophy is reaching to that point slowly, but not yet complete. Whereas we have got an evolved outlook in this aspect, that by explaining what is happening in a human body, you can understand what is happening in the entire outside physical world. That is also a basic approach or basic concept that we should be acquainted with, familiar with in our early period of understanding Ayurveda. So these were the two important aspects that I think generally people discuss while they begin their Ayurvedic classes. Then I think I should say something about the doshas a little bit more. I think by this time, after starting your BAMS classes, you might have already heard about the three names of doshas: Vayu, Pittam, Kapha. Vayu, Pittam, Kapha. Now there is a question: what is this all about? What are you trying to say? See, as I told earlier, this is an attempt to explain a complex system called a living body. Ultimately, we are talking about the diseases of this human body and the ways to alleviate their suffering, to bring a body which is in illness to a state of wellness. That is what we are talking about. For that, we should understand what has gone wrong, what this disease is all about. Something has gone wrong. That is why we call it as a disease. So if you have to understand what has gone wrong, you should understand what was the normal. Then only you can understand. See, you are saying that, okay, in your room, you find that, okay, one book is down on the floor. Immediately you understand that something has happened. Why this book is there lying on the floor? How do you understand that this is a wrong thing? Because I am very well aware of the fact that this is not the seat of this book. Then you say, where was the book? This book was on that shelf which is on the side of the door, in its second row, Maybe if you are very precise, the second book from the left, that was its seat. Now you see, it is seen lying down on the floor. So something has gone wrong. How to make it normal? You have to pick the book from the floor, take it to that shelf on the side of the door, on its second rack, second book from the left, you place it there. Okay, fine. No. So to understand a disease, you should have a thorough understanding about what the normal way of operation of this body is. So we start looking at the body. Fine. We have to understand how a normal body is working. We start counting. Okay, this normal body is blinking his eyes. He is speaking, fine. He is breathing. He is swallowing. He is chewing. He has got tears in his eyes. He has got saliva in his mouth. He has sweat on his skin. He is moving. He is lifting his hand. He is folding his fingers. He can walk. There is something happening inside his stomach. The food is moving through a tube. At one point, it is changed to another form. It is absorbing something from the body. The body is growing. So we start counting what is happening in a normal body, and number 1, X, number 2, Y, number 3, Z. The list is long, 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 long. Never ending. There is innumerable number of things happening in this living body. Wow. Then how to learn this? How to learn this normal body with all these sort of intricacies of the functional components? It's a very, very complex system. Okay, let us do one thing. Let us find a shortcut in explaining these activities that is happening in this highly complex machine called human body. We start organizing it. We start observing it. We started organizing it. And we understand at one point of time, you can understand. It is not a theory. You can experience it. You should experience it. This is not a story. That a living body has got a tendency to accumulate and grow. And if you look at various activities in the body, certain components are dedicated to facilitate this tendency of accumulating and growing. Then there are another activities. There is another set of activities which are breaking down what is accumulated. Breaking down what is accumulated and transform them to the next level. So, breaking down what is accumulated and change them in their form so that they can do a different set of function. So one side, there is accumulation and growth and piling up. On the other side, breaking down, disintegrate and transform. Quite chaotic, quite opposite. Accumulation, destruction. Accumulation, destruction. This cannot survive. There should be something like two teams playing. Is in the World Cup time. So two teams playing. One onto the other, the post on the southern side, one onto the post on the northern side. There should be a referee. So there will be a separate system of actions in the body. You observe, which will be trying continuously, restlessly, uninterruptedly to control these two opposite actions of accumulating, growing, disintegrating, transforming. Two sets of action. So a huge number of activities that is happening in the human body can be classified under this set of actions, regulating the earlier mentioned two. Now, suppose you take the control switches of all these three. The preliminary one, accumulate, grow, accumulate, grow. Take the control switches of all these activities, there may be n number, doesn't matter, and put these switches in a particular switchboard in a particular cabin. You have put them in one board. Then the second set of actions, collect all the switches of those actions and put them together in another second board and put it in a cabin. And all the third type of activities, collect their switches, put them in one board and place it in one cabin. Now we will have 3 cabins. For the sake of easiness of business, put 3 labels on these cabins. One cabin, constructive. Another cabin, transformative. Third cabin, regulatory. 3 cabins with 3 different labels. Now, the same thing has happened in the way in which Ayurveda is explaining this body. Instead of the English names, what I have mentioned earlier, they have put it in Sanskrit terms. The first body is labeled as Kapha. Second is labeled as Pitta. Third one is labeled as Vayu, because it is written in Sanskrit language. So now we have got 3 cabins with 3 boards in it, which carry numerous switches, but with a specific set of function. Under the heading of Kapha, you find one board with numerous switches, but all the switches will be functioning for a specific purpose. So together we say that body has got 3 control mechanisms physiologically, a proper observation of which will tell you how a normal body is functioning. So suppose something has gone wrong, as if, take it as it is something like a huge plant, an industrial plant. If something has gone wrong in one side of the plant, the mechanic will have a very clear idea. If this side of this particular unit is not working, where to check? He will directly go to that particular junction board, open it, and see whether it is working or not, and what correction it requires, how this particular junction board is getting interacted with other junction boards in the plant, and how to make them normal. So that controlling switches and putting them in an organized manner makes actually all the business of understanding the human body much, much easier. Many studies have conducted in this regard. Maybe I think for those who are interested in understanding the complexities of, just 1 minute, just 1 minute. I will try to share one screen. Yes. Shall I share one screenshot? Can I share? Just 1 minute. Let me see if I can do it. A window.
Yes, sir, please.
Yes, just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
The control systems engineering foundation of traditional Indian medicine. Can you read it?
Yes, sir. It's readable for me.
Yeah. I hope other attendees of the seminar also can understand this. I was just searching for it because I was not planned to give this to you. See, this is an article published by a scientist or a person called Shiva Ayyadurai. Shiva Ayyadurai, as the name shows, is an Indian. But he's an American. It's an Indian American. And he's a very famous person or notorious person at times for no reason. See, this control systems engineering foundation of traditional Indian medicine. This is actually a story or a study about Tridoshas, Vayu, Pitta, and Kapha. Shiva Yadurai was a genius. He is the inventor of email. I do not know how many of you are aware of that news. He is the inventor of the basic form of email as we use it today. And that MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, he's a graduate or a scholar from that institute. There are many things into his credit. So he's not an Ayurvedist anyway. And he studied the basic principles of Ayurveda, and using the way in which the Vayu, Pitta, and Kapha are explained in Ayurveda, and also Siddha, another system of Indian medicine, he explained how the control systems of engineering, as far as complex systems are concerned, can be easily understood and explained. That is an interesting study. So what I wanted to say is that, okay, Shiva Yadurai has endorsed the Trudosha Siddhanta, so it is very valid. It is not like that. This is the example for what I told earlier. If you are able to understand the human body in its miniature, using the basic norms of understanding, you can project it to any complex system. This is actually a journal which is what it published is the Journal of System of Systems or something like that. It's an engineering journal. It is not in Ayurveda journal or a medical journal. So it is an example how the concept of Tridoshas used to explain the human body as per the Ayurvedic principles can be beneficial in explaining any complex systems in the universe. That is the interesting part of it. So I'm stopping that screen share. Fine, let's come back. So this is how the concept of Tridosha is evolved. So that is a very, very tricky one. You are talking about only three things. And with that three things, you are able to explain how the human body is evolving, how the human body is growing, how it is eating, how it is getting digested, how it is getting assimilated, how it is spread across the body, how new tissues are formed, how it is perished, how at the end it is dying, all these things. So that is Ayurvedic biology and physiology. So that way, if you look at it, Ayurveda gives you a wonderful idea about human body, its wellness and illness, and the way in which it can be understood. It says many things. How a piece of maybe roti which you have taken today morning as your breakfast is getting transformed to your flesh tomorrow or day after. So what is common between a piece of roti and your flesh? How they can be compared with or compared between these two stuffs? What is the similarity between them? How is it possible? Who is the principle working behind it? Then Ayurveda comes up with very beautiful elements. See, there is a principle called Agni within. Agni, literal meaning is fire. So there is a fire operating inside, which can disintegrate a physical object to its basic fundamental units. We already saw that, okay, there are 5 fundamental units for any material object. So the piece of roti which you have taken today in the morning as your breakfast will be broken down into its fundamental units by one principle called Agni, which is residing inside. And from that fundamental units, the Agni is smart enough to facilitate remodeling them, constructing your flesh, your bone, your nerves, or your hair, your nail, your whatever you want. So there are many principles which are working in tune with the 3 doshas to make the body work properly in health. And when you are sick, there are certain terminals which you have to fundamentally check. You have to check as the fundamental points where things might have gone wrong. Agni is one among them. If the Agni principle is not working, you cannot expect anything else to work properly, because it is supposed to be the basic source of energy, where this accumulation is facilitated, transformation is facilitated, regulation is facilitated, without which anything is not happening, nothing is happening. So it is a prime terminal. Similarly, you will have different principles which are evolved out of your food, with which basic functions in the body are delivered. On one side, we saw that Vayu, Pitta, and Kapha. But this Vayu and Pitta and Kapha, as we find it, are 3 basic terminals inside which there are many switches arranged in a board. Similarly, down inside, there are some basic units with which our body's organs, structures, pathways, tubes, conduits, all these things are made. They are known as dhatus. They are known as dhatus. So body as a unit will have multiple organs, organelles, tubes, then many other things, all together forming the structural integrity of this body, which is under the control of 3 doshas. And there are some complementary factors like Agni, Ojas, which we will come to later. And ultimately, there is a principle of life, Atma. And this Atma makes this body smart enough with its basic facilities of decision making, judgment, reasoning, memorizing, and that principle with which this principle of life is making this body smart enough is called manas. That is called manas. And there are certain terminals in the body, certain parts in the body, which can understand the changes that are happening in the environment when we consider it as a particular living ecosystem. What is happening outside? How do we understand what is happening outside? By understanding certain basic stimuli, perceiving basic stimuli like seeing certain things, smelling certain things, tasting something, perceiving the touch, listening to something. So there are particular terminals in the body. They are known as indriya. So we have a body, we have indriyas in it, which are 5 in number. We have a body, we have indriyas, we have manas, and ultimately we have the atma. So Ayurveda proposes that, okay, you see, a living unit will have sharira, indriya, sattva. Sattva is the word for manas and atma. A living unit will have 4 components operating together called sharira, indriya, sattva, and atma. And in that body, as I mentioned earlier, the organs, tubules, organelle, these sensory organs, everything is made by means of certain components called dhatus, which are 7 in number. They are made by transforming what is accumulated from the food. And in that process of transformation, from one stage to the other, from one level to the next, there will be separation of essence and waste. Like any other activity in the gross physical world, when we are changing one to next level, upgrading from one level to the next, we are making something new, then something is becoming obsolete, that is considered as waste or byproduct, which will be kept away from the main system. Then from that level, it is transformed to the next. Again, there will be something which has become waste or obsolete, which will be kept away from the system. That way, as long as we live or continue to live, there will be some byproducts and waste products made or synthesized as a routine stuff, and they will be kept in the body for some time, a threshold beyond which that will be eliminated. So that way, we call them as waste products, which are to be thrown out beyond a basic threshold. In Sanskrit, they are known as malas. Mala, the word mala stands for this waste. So that way we find that the body has got 3 doshas, dhadus, and malas in it. It has got a sharira, which is gross. It has got indriyas in it. It has got the living principle called atma. And there is one smart fellow in between called manas. So this is the Ayurvedic biology. This is the Ayurvedic biology upon which we operate. This is also biology, but a different biology. The word meanings are specific and contextual. That is very important. Any word gains its meaning from the context, isn't it? That is very important. When you ask, see, you have a word. Which word? Say, for example, you have a word called cell. Okay. You ask the meaning of the word cell to a person who is a biologist. then he will say that cell is supposed to be the basic unit of life, which is true. Suppose you ask the same thing to a chemistry professor, what is a cell? Then he will say that cell is the basic unit from which you can produce electricity. Suppose you ask the same question to a Newgen boy, what is cell? He will take it as a cell phone. He will take it as a cell phone. You ask the same question, what is a cell, to a police constable? Then he will say that it is a room in our station where some people are kept before they are produced informed in front of the court. One night they will be kept in the cell, next day they will be produced in the court. So which is right? What is cell? Who told the truth? Isn't it? So context gives relevance to a term. So when you bring a term from a Western science and try to explain it in the context of Ayurveda, that need not make any sense. Similarly, if you take one word from Ayurveda and take it to the Western scientific context, that need not make any sense, because context gives the meaning to the word. So that also should be kept in your minds when we are trying to learn Ayurveda. I think I can talk up to the evening like this, taking one after the other, but we have to have an interactive session. We have to stop somewhere. So I think with the permission of Yogesh ji and his team, I'm retiring for the time being. And I think the platform should be open for discussion.
Yeah.
Am I right? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. It's right. The match is set now. The first part of the play has been very good, and it has given the participants an equal opportunity to interact, be open, and ask their questions.
Yes. That is important. Conversations make the ideas clearer.
Yeah.
It should not be something like a radio broadcast.
Right. So we request the participants, if they have any questions, they can just go ahead, open their mic, and ask the questions directly. The sir is available. Maybe they are a bit skeptical, so I take an opportunity to ask.
Yes, I understand.
The question. The question arises here. The thing you have set it all open. Now, how to proceed with this journey of study? So for them, as a student, because they have a number of activities going around in the colleges and the exams and the whole scenario. Then how to make the studies go through with this journey of what, or with this light what you have given. How do they study further? It is part of both anushthan, that is right, but
Yes.
that seems quite difficult for them in the syllabuses and their daily schedule. So how can you guide them, that any particular shortcut that you can explain?
Yes. Of course, it is not a shortcut. But anyway, I think there are clear-cut ideas. Like, say, as I mentioned earlier, there is a transitional jerk that these students are facing when they are switching over to the new school. So ideally, there should be somebody to guide the students. And I'm 100% confident that the team Punarvasu is doing that job beautifully. So what they can do is, because I think the teachers, the regular teachers in the college, they may not be able to do this effectively for shortage of time and for many other reasons. And they will be struggling to cover the syllabus. I always used to say, if you have to understand the subject, the teacher should uncover the syllabus. then, only the subject will be revealed. But unfortunately, they struggle to at least cover the syllabus before the exam. So there is no scope for doing some extra things from the academy. So I think informal platforms like Punarvasu can guide them, like fixing up some very, very simple basic textbook, offer something like that to them, and make them a sadhana, something like a upasana. Ayurvedam upasmahe, isn't it? That is, it is how it is told. Ayurvedam upasmahe. So it is something like a sadhana or upasana, which is technically known in Ayurveda as swadhyaya. It's known as swadhyaya. So the technique to master one shastra is very clearly mentioned. It is adhiti, bodha, acharana, pracharana. Adhiti, bodha, acharana, pracharana. So adhiti means to study. Second is bodha. Bodha means to assimilate, to make it a part of your understanding. Third is acharana. Acharana means put it in your own life, practice it. And pracharana means, actually the word meaning of pracharana is to popularize. But here I would say pracharana, try to explain it to somebody else. Because one idea is clear to you, or you can understand that the idea is clear to me only when you are able to explain it clearly to somebody else.
Right.
So these four things, adhiti, bodha, acharana, pracharana, you can guide these students through these four stages. I would say you can select one text for adhiti. I would recommend it as Ashtanga Hridaya, because that is the simplest but the most exhaustive form of a textbook, worth the latest that way. So make Ashtanga Hridaya as the Swadhyaya Grantha, with which you can have adhiti, then do daily reading and discussion by Swadhyaya, which will make the bodha part. Then get transformed by putting it in your life. The best way is to go through the dinacharya. Dinacharya in its sense, not by word sometimes, because it will more like a ritual, which will make you some sort of a fundamentalist, which is not the right way of doing things. In sense, Rutucharya, say for example, Rutucharya to Shidoshna Vrishti-dosha Pratikriya, because there may not be Vasanta in that particular area where you live, or there may not be Shishira in the particular area where you live. So you are not supposed to make it a mockery by doing Shishiracharya where there is no Shishira at all. So it is not about a ritual, but following by sense, by meaning. Artha-rupa Ayurveda, not Kevala Shabda-rupa Ayurveda. So guide them to practice it and make small groups. Small group learning is the best way of learning for that acharana and pracharana. If you have got, say, 5 members with you or 10 members with you who can guide these students, make them their mentors. From the beginning till they are passed out of the college after internship, follow them, transform their life, make them understand what is going through. So putting yourself as the mentors of these students and insisting them to swadhyaya. Actually, it has got 3 halves. That means adhiti, bodha, acharana comes under swadhyaya, and prajarana comes under pravachana. So in Upanishad, you will find Swadhyaya Pravajanabhyam Ma Pramaditavyam. Actually, the Swadhyaya Pravajana, Swadhyaya has got Adhidi Bodha Acharana. So Swadhyaya Nirataha, Swadhyaya Nirato Bhaved. Do not compromise in Adhiti Bodha Acharana. So I think now we have got, I think, 29 participants. Earlier I saw 37 or something like that. So make these 37 or 30 plus students the gems, the shining stars of Ayurveda, who is going to guide the Indian Ayurveda in the days to come. By uncompromisingly sticking on to Swadhyaya Pravajana. I think if one student is transformed, the world is going to change. Isn't it? In its extreme sense. So I think that is a shortcut or clear cut. Simple. Swadhyaya Pravajanabhyam Ma Pramaditavyam. Of course, it is a tough task. But I think all these kids are going to follow it under your able guidance.
Thank you. Sir, here is one Trupti Nikam. She is a student and she wants to ask a question. I can ask her to open up her mic.
Oh, please.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, actually, I had a doubt related to the three doshas. So, sir taught us, like in the college, about the Nadi Parikshan. And so there are two doshas which are always in a combination which are dominant. So what is the difference between that and Prakruti Parikshan of Vata Pitta? Is it different or is it the same?
Can you ask the question once again?
So by doing Nadi Parikshan.
Just to make sure that you are convinced about the question.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, what is the difference between Nadi Parikshan and Prakruti Parikshan?
Okay.
Is it the same or is it the different?
Okay. You see, if I understood it right, Nadi Pariksha is done for many purposes. For understanding the status of Prakrita doshas, for understanding the status of Vikrita doshas, for understanding the Sthana Samshraya in precision, and also to understand the Sadhya Sadhyada and Rishta. For all these things, I think the experts use Nadi Pariksha. Whereas the other part, what was it? The Prakriti Pariksha. Prakriti Pariksha is only one part of it. So if you are an expert, you can use Nadi Pariksha for understanding the Prakriti as well. But of course, there are many aspects which is to be considered before coming to a conclusion about the Prakriti. But definitely that will be give you the fundamental idea about the Prakriti of a person. And with your expertise in Nadi Pariksha, you could layer it out one after the other and understand what is the Vikriti, what is the Vikrita Dhadu, what is the Vikrita Srotas, and how far it is Sadhya, all these things. If that is my answer. If it is not clear, please ask a sub question.
So it is clear. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Sir, actually, I had another doubt.
Please.
Sir, a few days back, our sir in the college, he introduced a concept about Ayurgenomics. And we are supposed to do a project. So I found this topic very unique as to, we can relate the Prakriti with the modern medicine. So could you elaborate with it? Like, it's quite difficult when I went through the articles. So I wanted an explanation for it. Like, I understood some part of it, but not everything is understood because there are many concepts related to it.
Yeah, that is very interesting. See, Ayurgenomics is an attempt to validate certain Ayurvedic principles from a modern perspective. Many things are happening that way. Ayurveda has got the concepts of Prakriti, then that again into the Dosha Prakriti and the types of Sattvas, which will explain your Mansika Prakriti, many things. But these things are explained conventionally using the schools of thought which are prevalent or connected to Ayurveda, like the darshanas or different shastras which are closely working with Ayurveda. But these days, there is a new stream of workers or scientists or so-called explorers who are working in this regard to understand more about this Ayurvedic principles in their perspective. It is sort of a validation. So how this, because that is an emerging branch actually in the Western thought house. Because even though it is reductionistic in its approach, which has given it huge success, its reductionistic approach gave it huge success in handling issues of many types. But they were always aware that we are not seeing the stuff in total. That has created lots of issues as well. Because even though they were generalizing many information what they get from reductionistic approach, they were not working in reality. Say for example, we find that 500 milligrams of paracetamol is going to treat a particular type of fever. It is highly generalized now. I think, of course, for reasons other than medical, the 500 mg dose is obsolete. It has become 1000 or more sometime. Forget it. I'm giving you the theoretical idea. But the fact is that 500 mg unit of paracetamol is not working in the same way in different persons. That is a reality what they are convinced about. So background works were going on for many years. And a stream was evolving slowly, wherein they were studying whether some sort of a genetic predisposition is influencing this sort of working of medicines in human body. And slowly it became a branch called pharmacogenetics. So while they are in their way of pharmacogenetics or working with that concepts in detail, Ayurveda is working on the other side with its concept of customization of stuffs. In the dosha nirupana and aushadha nirupana, you are supposed to look into certain specific areas which make the entire show customized. Entire show is becoming customized. Doshyam, desham, balam, kalam, analam, prakritim, vayaha, sattvam, sapnyam, tathaharam. So none of these can be generalized. Maybe, of course, desham can be generalized. Kalam can be generalized. Dushyam cannot be. Balam cannot be. Sattvam cannot be. Prakriti cannot be. Agni cannot be. So, dosha aushadha nirupane yo vartade chikilsayam sanaskhaladi jatujit. So, while doing the dosha nirupana or aushadha nirupana, dosha nirupana means you are roaming around the domain of diagnosis. Aushadha nirupana means you are roaming around the domain of intervention. In both these things, Ayurveda has got a basic approach of customization. So, if the Ayurvedic Vaidya who is keen about these aspects in the intervention knows very well that one medicine which is working in this level in this person will not work in the same level of a different person. So there is an inbuilt pharmacogenetics in it. There is an inbuilt element of pharmacogenetics. So they were interacting. Now it has become a project, a huge project of working on this customization of interventions based on Ayurvedic concepts in which the concurrent or the contemporary information about genomics is interwoven. And that has become a branch called Ayurgenomics. It has become a project, a huge project. Many things are going on in that platform. And maybe in a few years, that may be adding to the knowledge pool of Western medicine, how they can customize things, taking leads from the Ayurvedic concepts. I don't think that Ayurveda is not going to be benefited as such from it, but Ayurvedic people may be satisfied in one point that they are able to explain things in a different light. That's all. again, I do not know whether I am clear. Otherwise, you can ask it again.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm totally convinced. When I first heard about this concept, it was so fascinating at that, like at this level, Ayurveda and modern medicine can be connected. So I think it is a very good project. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, welcome. There are a couple of hand raises.
And sir, few questions are in the chat box also. We will go through them first. Sakshi has asked that we have been advised by our seniors and teachers to join clinics for better understanding of concepts. So when is the right time to join the clinic, first year or second year?
Earlier the best, no doubt about. When I was the principal of a college for a few years, I was insisting on exposing or putting the first year students in clinics. It need not be about learning Chikilsasthanam or Nidanasthanam, but it is about delivering some basic patient care even. In the hospitals, when the first year students are exposed to some simple works like putting a labum on the legs of a patient or making the bed for them, or helping in making some sort of a murdha tailam, I think that makes a world of difference. Because understanding the way in which human body is responding even to a touch or to a word, that gives a big insight to the learner, which is going to make them, he or she, a better Vaidya. So getting exposed to the clinics, the rule is earlier the best. In the first year itself, I think you are supposed to see patients, talk to them, touch them, understand what a snigdha shobham is, what is a ghana shobham is, what is a pakwa shobham, what is an ama shobham. Just feel it. Don't bother about all these the technicalities of that amam and niramam. Just see it and feel it, because your hands are going to be the master diagnosticians in most of the situations. Everything else will be complementary to it. It will not be contradictory to it. So I think expose them to the clinic as early as possible. And that it is nice to see that the seniors and teachers are advising it, again, because they are busy with covering the syllabus. They are supposed to do this job in the first year itself, but they are busy with some other things. Anyway, it is a good advice, I should say.
So the other question is from Yasmin. Could you please suggest any good books to study Ayurveda, and also how we could understand the concepts of Ayurveda properly?
Yeah, I think based on Ashtanga Hridayam, if you form small groups and engage in conversations in the presence of a mentor or a teacher, I think that is the best way of doing it. As a text, I would suggest Ashtanga Hridaya. Need not bother about understanding the meanings given in Sanskrit or some other language. Even by reading it repeatedly and understanding the word meanings, forget about the commentaries, by the word meaning and seeing something live with your teacher, I think things will become crystal clear.
So just a thing in connection with what you are saying about making small groups. The teachers who are teaching in Prabodhini, Subodhini, basically, like they are all young generation ones. They are just done their PGs and just started practicing for 1 or 2 years. So we have introduced them to be the mentors for this group, which would be, so they would have easier a way of asking their questions.
Yeah.
And we expect the same group to be kept with them for second and third year, so that they would be knowing what these students have done, and they can also join their clinics when they are in the city in Pune. So we had this idea behind that first year they go with by hearting text, knowing much of it.
Yeah.
Then practical hands, when they have their vacations, they could join and come in, and that was the scenario. So we are also in line with this. And about Ashtanga Hridaya, we have kept them a target of by hearting this 15 adhyayas. If they by heart them, then we would be giving them a cash prize of good amount. So that is what is our motivation for these students also.
Excellent.
So this is all that we are trying to work out.
Excellent. What I would like to add to this concept is just one thing.
Sure.
You have a group of postgraduates who are freshers, who have started teaching or started practicing to guide these students.
Yes.
So on the top of that, there's a program called TOT. TOT means training of the trainers.
Training of the yes, sir.
So I think you should make some sort of an assembly of those postgraduates and young teachers.
Yes.
And there should be a team over that.
Yes.
They should be articulated. They should be trained properly to guide the ground layer.
Yes, sir.
So just please form a TOT.
Sure, sure.
And then I think that will work wonders. No doubt about it.
Sure. Thank you. So there are some questions. We can ask Akanksha Singh. She has raised hand.
Yes.
Yeah. Continue, Akanksha.
Good morning, sir. First of all, I would like to thank you for all the amazing information you gave to us.
Thank you, and good morning.
Yes, sir. I wanted to ask why Ayurvedic medicine are not fast working, like showing results fast. Like if you have a fever, you take paracetamol and the next day you can go to college, right? But according to Ayurveda, we need to do Langan and all. So I wanted to ask why Ayurveda is not the first option of treatment.
Oh, that's a very good question. And I feel the real Akanksha behind it. Isn't it? Very nice. You see, Ayurvedic medicines will work very fast. No doubt about it. If you apply them properly and promptly. These two things are very important. The properly and promptly. So the time is important and the intervention is important. And for making it happen, the way in which the situation is assessed, that also should be very, very important. I generally used to say that, you see, you should understand or you should assimilate the situation using two principles in your mind. The assessment should be exactly and completely as it is. The way in which you are going to evaluate your patient and whatever he is complaining, whatever he is saying about should be exact. Your perception of what he is saying about or she is saying about should be exact. Number two, whatever he or she is trying to explain should be complete. You should not jump into conclusions before that.
Okay.
When somebody is saying that, okay, I have fever, don't get satisfied with it. That fever will be having many other things to say. Whether it is a fever which has started all of a sudden, or whether it is a fever which had a history of cough and cold for the last 3 days, whether it is a fever which was present among other members of the house and this person also contracted it, whether it is a result of some indigestion by eating something, some unfamiliar food in the previous day, whether this fever is there for the last 1 month on and off, was taking different medicines, was subsiding for some time, and again it appeared today morning, and that is why I am with you. So the completeness is very important. So the exactness and the completeness of the documentation of the picture is very important. And do things properly and promptly. Then no doubt at all, Ayurveda will work fast. Then there was a question, an example. If I take a paracetamol, I can go to the class tomorrow. By taking Ayurvedic medicine, you may not be. That is a wrong notion, which I already explained. And another thing is, suppose you are having an appointment in the class tomorrow, I have to go there. and I should be present there. All these things are taken for granted. But suppose this fever was an ajirnajanya jwaram, amajwaram, and you are taking a paracetamol, and tomorrow you are going to the hospital, I mean to the college. Fine. The interesting thing is the fever will not know about your appointment or your hurry, all these things. The mechanism of an ajirna jwaram, whether it is in the new age or in the old age or in the last century or this century, yesterday or tomorrow, will be the same. And it will require the proper pajana of the dosha. Otherwise, it is going to be an issue tomorrow or day after. Why did you close down the entire world even though you had sufficient stock of paracetamol during the episode of COVID? Why it was insisted that, okay, you see, don't worry, take rest, that is the only way out? What
Yes,
was
sir.
happening to the paracetamol at that time?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? So the basic way in which the body is responding to a disease process is the same at the time of Atreya and the time of ours. You are trying to bypass it with some strong agents, which is putting you in deeper troubles tomorrow or day after. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Are you satisfied?
Yes, sir. I'm satisfied. I had one other thing to ask. Can I
Yes,
ask?
please.
Yes, sure.
Sir, is it necessary to by heart the shloka or memorizing it? Because I just learn the meaning and I can write the meaning, but memorizing shloka is necessary.
Yeah, that is a very important question. Very important question, and I think many of the youngsters will be interested in that question. See, I would like to take you back to your KG classes or first standard in your school. How did you learn that mathematic tables, multiplication table?
Memorizing?
Memorizing, or you understood the concept and applied it?
No. Memorized.
Memorizing. And how far was it beneficial in your future life? Forget about the exams, in your daily life.
Yeah, it was good.
It was working, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was giving you some basic mathematical ideas wherein you were not in need of chanting or repeating the multiplication table again and again, but still you were operating with the basic mathematics effectively.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, yes.
The same is the case with by hearting shloka. As far as Ayurveda is concerned, if you are in the first BAMS, it is equivalent to your KG class. The basic things are to be learned by rote learning method. Rote learning method is not just about by hearting, but about adhidi and bodha as well. It is not just about adhidi and bodha as well. So the best option to make your memory, your wisdom, your plane of the registries which you are forming inside, familiar with the Ayurvedic concepts, the best way to go for rote learning in the formative time, which will facilitate making some sort of a Ayurvedic thought process as the fundamental one. Otherwise, you will be assessing the things in your conditioned way. Then you take time to translate it to the Ayurvedic way, which need not work all the time. You got the point, Dr. Akanksha?
Yes, sir. So I'm not a doctor, only a first year student.
Okay, fine. Anyway, I think that was there were beautiful questions, and I hope you got something in it.
Sir,
There is one more question from Gauri. Gauri,
Yes,
you can go ahead.
Very good morning, sir. It is a privilege to have a Sunday mornings with you.
thank you.
My doubt was about lately our ma'am was teaching us about Matra Shiti Adhyay, number 8, and in Sutra number 17, that is Visuchika Chikitsa,
Hmm.
she told us about Parshneya Daha. So, as you said that we have come from the background of physics, bio, and chem, we see no connection between. If we think accordingly, there's no connection between Visuchika, that is Visuchika, and between Parshnaya part. So, how to connect it with this? That how is it relatable that Visuchika, in the pain of Visuchika, Chikitsa is done with the Parshnaya part of your body or with the Daha karma?
Okay. See, Vishuchika should be seen. That is one problem. Anyway, I think you are reaching that point, and I'm definitely sure that you will see it one day. Vishuchika is having a samprapti which has got the presence of Visha in it. It precipitates very severe Annavisha, and as part of that, the presence of Annavisha, there will be severe Akshayapaka and Vinamana types of presentations in Vishuchika. And the victim, the person who is suffering that condition, will be having severe contractures of all his body parts, including the Parshni or Pindiga, hands, neck, lower back, everywhere. And it is unbearably painful as well. And that Vishuchyam Adivruddhayam Parshnyor Daha Prasasyate, that Parshni Daham will create immediate anulomana of Vayu, which is creating this sort of Akshayapaga or Vinamana type of Nadi Gada or Snayu Gada Vada Kopam, and relieves the patient instantly from the suffering. Don't think that, okay, it is the sole remedy for the entire issue or episode of Vishuchika. It is a part of the total procedure or the management where this severe painful Vinamanam of the Sharira is addressed. Got the point?
Yes.
Interestingly, see, you are asking about how does it work. Today morning, I think I should read it for you. Morning, one of my students, actually, these are not students who studied directly under me, but at some point of time, they might have come to me, stayed a few days with me and asked some questions like that. So today morning, one student from Nagarkoil Ayurveda College, he completed it. He asked me a question. The question is, in nature, Vada is Laghu and Kabha is Guru. Then, how Kabha stay in Urdhva and Vada in Adho Sharira? That was the question. Which is quite a sensible question, isn't it? Gauri, you got the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You also might have thought about it.
Yeah.
Vada is Laghu and Kabha is Guru. Then, how Kabha stay in Urdhva and Vada in the Adhogatra? That is the question. So, I sent him an answer. I have to send some answer, no? So, I sent him an answer. The question looks valid. But how can we question the nature of body? Body is arranged like that. How can we say otherwise? If somebody is asking a question like this, the question is, why we have both the eyes in the front? Why not one in the front and one in the back, which could have made things easier? How can we answer it? Isn't it? How can we answer it? Then it is built like that. This is not about our explanation. This is about the body. It is like that. So we may think that, okay, if we had one eye in the front, in the forehead, and one in the back, and things could have been much, much easier, isn't it? If somebody is tracking from behind, it can be seen. And many things were there. So why body is not like that? Who knows? In the body, Vayu is in the bottom Adhogatra and the Kabha is in the upper Gatra. What we can do? Then I think if you need an answer, a logical response, then I told him, now if you want an answer, think it like this. The Guru Kabha tends to come down and the Leghu Vayu tends to go up. So they can control each other only when they are placed like this.
Yeah, right.
Isn't it? Kapha
Yes.
comes to downstairs, downward, then only Vayu is in the down, it can control the Vayu, Kapha. Similarly, Vayu tends to escape, then only if the Guru, Kapha is there, it can control it. This is an explanation for explanation. But the basic thing is, body is by default built like that. It is nature. Got the point?
Yes, sir.
Fine, very good.
Actually, the doubt was that uh, uh, how to get this perspective to see the topic, to see Ashtang Hriday, to acquire the knowledge
Yeah, I
and
think that is what
exercise
I
ourselves.
yeah, that is why I mentioned, I proposed Yogesh ji and the team Punarvasu to make some sort of a mentorship program. In the beginning, it is impossible. It is very tough, as if you are thrown into an uncharted sea. You can't see the any of the sides or the land, the mainland around. You will be getting tired. That should not happen. So there should be proper mentorship, and they will be able to guide you. We have a couple of more hand raises, I think.
But actually, I do have. Actually, I would like to refurnish my thinking process regarding this thing, the Adosthana of Vata and all. What I think it's for Chala kind of bodies like Jangam Srishti, Kingdom Animalia, which do move. Vayu is there in lower part, and that's why it is called as Urdhva Moolam Adhashakham. So the other side in Vanaspatis, can we think as their kapha is at root level and Vayu at Shakha level?
Yeah, it can be. It can be.
Thank you, sir. One more question is there from Yasmin Setna.
Good morning, sir. My name is Nikita. Why is
You are not Yasmin?
No, that's my mom. I'm using her account.
Okay.
I wanted to know, why is Ayurveda and other systems of medicine considered inferior to allopathy
Who
in
considers?
society today? Everybody, like lots of people.
Okay. Your name? I forgot.
Nikita.
Nikita.
Yes.
I can understand your concern, Nikita, and I think I should not misjudge your concerns or underestimate your concerns. It is true. It is true. Unfortunately, that is a reality. There are multiple reasons. There are multiple reasons. Number one, see, can I say something historical?
Yes, sir.
Will the time permit?
Yes.
Fine. See, post-independence, I think I should say the facts to the younger generation. In 1921, in the Nagpur summit of the All India Congress Committee, there was a resolution, and the resolution was, in independent India, Ayurveda should be the national system of healthcare. And things were moving forward, the strong national movements and everything. And when ultimately in 1947, when the new ministry post-independence was formed under the able leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal ji, there was one person who was appointed as the health minister. Her name was Rajkumari Amrit Kaur. She was a person trained in the Western science and medicine. And a committee was formed to see what shall be the system of medicine which should be prevalent in the modern and in independent India. And this fellow, Rajkumari Amrit Kaur, was very categorical that the independent India should have one system of medicine, and that should be Western. That is a historical reality. That is what happened. So from then onwards, I think it is sidelined or marginalized, to be very honest. Before that, for political reasons, the British were putting their system in the fore for multiple reasons. They had commercial interests, they had administrative interests, and many other interests. And obviously, Ayurveda was not promoted. But it could have changed post-independence. That also did not happen. And with the time, the movement of time, many things changed. Post-industrial revolution, I think everything became, I think you might have gone through the uh, Charlie Chaplin films in this regard. Everything was discussed and detailed in terms of material gains and in terms of benefit. What is the benefit? What will be the what should I say, the profit? How much profit it will make? Because every decision was ultimately made in the marketplace, not in the small marketplace in your village, but in the huge platform of global markets. So everything which fits into the market framework was accepted very easily. Economy was spinning around the markets. So everything which was indigenous and misfit for the benefit of the market, they were sidelined. Obviously, Ayurveda also became a victim of that. More than that, I think we had a huge respect towards the British, even though we were fighting against them and we were taking some bold steps to gain the independence. All these things are correct, but ultimately we had put ourselves as the slaves of the Western civilization. It is not about the Western people, but about the Western civilization. And that made ourselves think about our own information, our own pool of wisdom as inferior, and everything related to the Western or the West as superior. Then came a surge of technology, and we started believing technology more than we believed ourselves. Even in this case, you see, if you have a question, what is 12 into 12? We know that it is 144, but still we will check it in a computer, whether in a calculator at least, whether it is 144 or it has changed recently. So because we believe the machines more than our own capacity to make judgments. So any system which was using technology more gained very easy trust in the public. That also contributed heavily. Then again, Ayurveda is a system which is demanding active participation of the person involved. Whereas modern medicine compels you to be passive. You live the way you like. You fall sick, doesn't matter. We will take care. You just eat these pills. So your part in the entire process is passive. Whereas generally, Ayurvedic interventions are active. You have to live like this. You should cut these things. You should start practicing this. You should get up at this time. You should exercise. You should keep your mental makeup calm. So the involvement of the person is active. So in the economy which is driven by the market, where people were compelled to work day in and day out, these sort of modifications were not suiting the markets. That also pulled the Ayurvedic system a little bit back. So like this, there are many reasons which are other than medical, which has pulled Ayurveda to the backbench. It is not just because of any fault with the Ayurvedic system of medicine, but the way in which it is practiced, the way in which it is taught, the way in which it is propagated, the amount of patronage that is enjoying from the ruling class, from the decision makers, All these things put together made this situation real. So, Nikita, you are right. It is a fact, but we have to change it because the
Yes, sir.
world is
Sir, and in cases of accidents and severe injuries, is Ayurveda helpful over there also, or over there do they need immediate surgeries?
yeah. It is a question also, a question of practicality. See, when you suppose I am my father is a psychiatrist, and I fall down and break my hand. Can I expect my psychiatrist father to do the POP cast at home
No,
in spite of his medical background?
no.
Then what will be done?
When we,
I'll be taken to the nearby setup where this facility is available. So it
okay.
is a matter of practicality. If there are facilities in Ayurveda hospitals where these things can be undertaken, people will start taking them to the such facilities. But we have such hospitals in Kerala, at least two or three to name and show, where 24-hour emergency department is working. But by and large, that is not the common scenario. When you have a fracture, you are supposed to take the patient to the nearest facility where this can be addressed effectively. So if it is an allopathic system, you are supposed to take into the allopathic setup. So it is a matter of practicality. It is not a matter of any philosophical dilemma. Got the point?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mrudula has to ask some question.
Good morning, sir. Feeling blessed to have heard your session today morning.
Good
So my
morning.
question is, Ayurveda owns so
You're
many
not clear, Mridula.
cures, even allopathy, for like example, filing
Mridula,
The-
that shows very
your voice is
fantastic results.
cracking. Mridula, your
So
voice
can you
is
hear me
cracking.
now?
I cannot hear you properly.
Can you hear me
Hello.
now?
Your voice
Hello.
is breaking in between.
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, you are clearer. Now you try.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ayurveda has given so many cure for different diseases.
Okay.
For example, like filariasis, where there is no cure for filariasis in allopathy, but Ayurvedic medicine shows great results. So in that case, why Ayurvedic medicines are not showing their results in treating cancer, especially the third and fourth stages?
Question over?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, any disease can have its own phases of sadhya sadhya. A disease which is asadhya by default is asadhya by default. There is no doubt about it. A cancer case which is in the fourth stage or in the third stage is asadhya by itself. Then what does the allopath oncologist do? They put that case into the palliative line. In cancer management, you may be knowing the basic interventions will be fundamentally divided into two: curative or palliative. So when the case progresses to a bad prognosis, the case will be treated, but the aim will be defined as palliative. Ayurveda also is doing the same thing. Ayurveda is also treating cancer cases. If you are specifically interested, you can develop into a specialty. We had many wonderful practitioners in Kerala. One of the recent practitioners, Dr. C.P. Matthew, who was an allopathic doctor and a medical college teacher by default, by training, who shifted to Ayurveda and who was treating cancer patients till the age of 95 or something like that, who passed away last year. He was using all sorts of Ayurvedic and Siddha medicines to Ayurveda to cancer patients. and he was having a huge rush queue of patients. So it is not about the stage, third or fourth. The question is whether the patients are getting the relief in terms of that palliation or cure. So there is no issue in treating a third stage or fourth stage of cancer with Ayurveda. But if it has already progressed to an asadhya stage, don't expect. The treating Vaidya should have an understanding about the sadhya sadhya. What is the intention of your treatment? Yavat kandhagara pranaha, you are supposed to treat. There is not about it. Vyadhes tattva parijnanam vedanayascha krundanam. You should pacify the suffering of the patient. Whether it is in the fourth stage or in the sinking stage, in the advanced stage, doesn't matter. You have effective tools of palliation. Got the point?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. There is Pratiksha.
Pratiksha has one question.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. After Akanksha, we have Pratiksha also.
Sir, how do we visualize the Ayurvedic concepts? Like our seniors and teachers asked us to make two compartments of our brain, one for studying Ayurveda and one for studying modern.
Okay.
But how do we visualize what Vat, Pitta and Kapha are?
See, Pratiksha, it is not a matter of visualizing. It is a matter of experiencing. That is why I insisted that in the first year itself, you should start seeing patients. There is one line in the Ashtanga Hridaya. Every textbook it is there. What is the four basic qualities of a Vaidya? It is something like that what we call that Shodasha Kala Bheshaj. Daksha, Tirthatta Shastrartha, Drishtakarma, Shuji, Bhishak. So Bhishak should have these four capacities. Daksha, Dakshyam, skill. Tirthatta Shastrartha, somebody who has gained the meaning, Sara of Shastra, that is text, from Tirtha, Gurumukha. Then Drishtakarma. Drishtakarmada, it does not mean somebody who has seen the Panchakarma procedures from the side table. It's not like that. It is somebody who has seen the principles working with the Guru. When you say that, okay, Sarvadeha pravisrudan saman doshan na nurhared linan dhadushvanut klishtan bhaladamad rasaniva. This is a proposal. You should have seen it. Then only you should understand what is Vada, what is Samavada, and what should be the life. It is not just about visualizing. It is about experiencing. Vriddhi samane sarvesham viparide viparyeya. So you should see a case where there is kabhakshaya and the way in which it is treated with samanya vishesha siddhanta. And as a result, when that kabhakshaya is getting corrected, then only you will understand what is kabha, how the similar things are improving the kabha, and how the issue is settled. So it is not at all about visualizing, but it is about experiencing. Having said that, there is a huge role for imagination in Ayurveda. I should admit it. So I think somebody who is having a higher capacity to be imaginative can work wonders in their clinics. Because in any new case where you are planning a treatment, see, Rogam Nidana Pragruba Lakshanopashayaptibhihi. That is how a Rogam is assessed. By assessing the Rogi by Darshana Sparshana Prashna. There is one stage called Samprapti Nirnayam. We saw 5 elements: Rogam, Nidana, Pragruba, Lakshana, Upashaya, Sampraptibhihi. Nidanam, you can ask the patient. You can grill the patient to find out what went wrong. No. There will be something you have committed. Tell me. You can ask about his ahara, vihara, many things. Grill him literally. Purva Rupa. Patient may be able to tell you. First it came like this. There was a swelling. Then slowly it was increasing in size. Then redness came. Then I noticed that there is a pidaga on its summit. So there will be Purva Rupa. Then Rupa. On that progression of that story, he will tell that. On one day it burst out and this vrana happened. So, Nidana, Pragrupa, Rupa, Upashaya. Then I put some coconut oil on that vrana. And that gave me some relief. Okay, that is a valid point about that disease. It is an Upashaya. But Samprapti, patient will not say you the Samprapti. And you cannot grill the patient to get the Samprapti. No, tell me, you are the right person to say what happened to your kapha or what happened to your recta. Patient will not be in a position to explain. I don't know. That is why I have come to you. So, you are framing a Samprapti. You are making the Samprapti. So, I always used to tell my students, Nimitta, Purva Rupa, Upashaya, everything is happening in the patient, whereas Samprapti is happening in the Vaidya. Samprapti is happening in the Vaidya. Because Samprapti is a story, screenplay made by the Vaidya. So it is based on his capacity to interpret, coordinate all the details what he has collected by Darshana, Sparshana and Prashna and make a story out of it. This is the way in which this Vyadhi could have manifested. There is an element of imagination based on his Shastra Sadbhava. It is not just a speculation, but that story is made out of his Shastra Sadbhava by repeated learning. Abhyasat prapyate drishti. So that capacity to imaginate that the doshas could have traveled this way, this could have the srodasas involved, this could have the way in which it have formed the Purva Rupa. This may be the reason that contributed from the side of the Nimitta. That story is made by the Vaidya and the intervention is designed accordingly. So, if you made a perfect story, you will get a perfect result. So that capacity to frame story of Samprapti from the details which you have gathered from the patient by Darshana, Sparshana and Prashna is an important component of your clinical success. There definitely is a role for imagination. Otherwise, to understand the Vada, Pitta, Kapha, it should not be made out of imagination, but it is experiential. Got the point clear, Pradiksha?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I think the questions are over, sir.
Yes.
Trupti Nikam has raised hand. If you have some time, because it's ahead of our schedule, but if you have some time,
no problem.
We can take it. Yes.
Otherwise, Trupti is important.
Yeah. Okay.
We should have a Trupti also, no?
Yes. Sorry, sir, but I had a question.
Please.
Actually, our teacher suggested that we should read commentary. Like, for example, Ashtanga Hridaya is there. So we have two commentators, Arun Datta and Hemadri. Sir, so in less time, how can we go through the entire commentary? Because we have so many subjects, and so how should we manage our time, and what is the right way to read the commentary?
Okay, don't bother about it, Trupti, for the time being, because this is not a matter which is going to be completed in 5 years. You're going to learn this all throughout your life. So completing the commentary of one author or one commentator before you are getting a pass in the BIMS is not your concern. Initially, especially in the formative time, you may read the original text repeatedly and try to understand from some Gurumukha, directly from a mentor or teacher or guru or whatever the name you call him. And to facilitate, as according to his guidelines, his directions, you may refer to certain points in the commentary, especially the very, very vast commentaries like Arunadatta commentary or Hemadri commentary. I think in the first BIMS, it is not a practicable option. You can't complete it and you can't comprehend also, because many times these commentaries are highly interconnected with the whatever you have told earlier and what we are going to tell later. So you may not be able to comprehend it that easily. But reading is very important, and understanding that what you have read from the Guru is the most important part in the formative year. I always used to tell one simple story about Swami Chinmayanandaji, especially when I'm talking to the young students. Swami Chinmayanandaji used to conduct Gita classes. That was his mission, life mission. He conducted Gita Jnana Yajna, maybe hundreds of Gita Jnana Yajnas, where he will be sitting and many people will be listening, and he will be explaining one chapter a day or a few slogas from a chapter a day, and that may go up to maybe 7 days. So it will be Saptaham, something like that. And he conducted these sort of lessons all throughout his life. And one person who used to attend these Gita Jnana Yajnas multiple times came to Chinmayanandaji one day and asked, Swamiji, please do not play tricks like this. In the first lesson, first Jnana Yajna which I attended, you told you should read Gita every day, you will be transformed. And I started reading it. This is, I think, the 30th Yajna I am attending. And in between all the days, I am reading Gita. Nothing happened. So please do not make these sort of offers to those who are listening. Then Swamiji smiled and told him, very good that you went through Gita this 100 times maybe. You continue it. Till date, you have gone through the Gita many times, but one day, Gita will go through you. Then you will get the entire idea clear. Similarly, you read Ashtanga Hridaya every day. You may not be getting anything. But parallel to that, you see patients. You listen to the teachers, what they say. You understand the principles working in the clinics. Then at one point of time, Vagbhada will start traveling through you. Till that, you have to travel through Vagbhada. Then things will be much, much clearer in a better platform, in a better light. This is an offer. This is a guaranteed offer. It is not like an online trade. it is a guaranteed offer. So you go through Vagbhada repeatedly and see things what he has explained in the real life clinical settings. One day, Vagbhada will start traveling through you. It is not a mystery. It is not a magic. I am not mystifying the things. It is a reality. It is an issue of conditioning. Conditioning of seeing things in a particular methodology. Then things will be easier. Up to that, there will be a confrontation of ideas which will make your internal makeup turbid. Clear? Trupti, you got
Yes, sir.
clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, actually, while explaining Kriya Sharir, so we have English translated books. So in that, it's written that Tikshna means sharp or Ruksha means dryness. So our teacher told us that it's not the only meaning we have to take. For example, Ruksha does not just mean dryness. It means Shoshane Rukshaha or Shodhane Tikshnaha. So, sir, basically, we are in a delusion as to what to write in the answer in the how should we frame the answer in the exams.
I understand, and I'm really sad about the situation because we don't have enough literature with a proper translation and other things. Like poetry, poetry is defined as what you miss in the translation is poetry. Similarly, I think in all these translations, what you miss in translation is what the Shastra is. And for it may be sometimes the limitation of the language, sometimes the limitation of the translator. But there are issues, and I'm regretful in admitting it. But I hope better things will happen in a uh, one-on-one interaction with your mentors. Things will be made clearer, unlike in a classroom. Hmm? So work with that, Tripti.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Just a reminder for all the students out over here that sir is available with giving his guidance on every Thursday. There is a Jnana Yajna which is conducted by Vaidya Nilesh and his group, and we would pass on the links of it to all the students who have been connected to us. And sir is having adhyayas and tikavachan of the same, and whatever the shastrarth is necessary. This process is not in any completing or covering any syllabus. It is it is an ongoing thing, and we would share its link, and you can also join the same. Yeah. Secondly, there is a part that you can attend, that is Gurukul, Madhavacharya Gurukul, which is going to be conducted for your batch after you complete your first year of BMS. And I would request you all, and I would urge that all of you should be part and participants of that Gurukul. That Gurukul would be conducted for 30 odd days after your first year exams. And you would have a number of teachers over here, and then would be give you more vision about the process of studying Ayurveda. So it is not that you have to digest everything in first year. It has been just follow the right path is what we are trying to explain it to you. So
yeah, that is it. You are really lucky to have such gurukuls every year for every batch, because that is the best place to get these doubts discussed and cleared. So make use of such gurukuls to the best.
And for that, there is an criteria that 200 students do appear or more than that, and we have a capacity of only 35 odd students, for which Tikavachan, Patantar, concessions are the basic criteria. So be focused on that part too, so that you can be a member of the Gurukul. And we would like you to be a part of it.
Yes, yes, that is it.
Okay, sir. I think no more questions are there right now. So we are moving towards the conclusion of this session, the thanking words. But whatever I have learned from my past experience, I have taught bike riding or car driving to teenagers or 20 plus year, my brothers and all people. It is a bit difficult thing. But now I have understood that it is more or most difficult to teach walking to a 1 year or odd age kid. And because he doesn't know how to walk, where to go, when to stop. And when we come to this session, we have seen that some of us are about to collide on a wall. And sir was there to hold us, to took us the right path, to give the momentum. So he was there as with love and affection like a father. So we cannot thank a father. We should be grateful to have such a person, such a father figure person here. And we can just commit that whatever you have guided and whatever you have advised, we will go on that path, and we will need you. And I hope, or rather I can say I know that you will be there for further sessions like these, that TOT program, you will be there for us. And we will keep this as continuing. the uncovering of Ayurveda science. So just pranam to Honorable Vaidya Prasad sir, and pranam to everybody here. Thank you
very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We end over
So
here.
we end here.